Who is this guy? Army guy. Who are you?
Steam? Discord?
No, Instagram.
Oh,
All right, I'm ready whenever. We can
we're
go whenever.
recording.
Are we? Okay.
We are.
Cool. What is this? 9? Jeez, 10? 9? This is
No,
9.
nine.
That's what I
Nine.
thought.
9.
9. Well, hey guys, episode 9. Here we are, Modern Boomer Podcast. I know that we need to get a schedule going a little more appropriately, I suppose, but it's just been hectic with the end of the month coming up and me moving. But one of the great things about some of the time between the episodes is a lot of stuff happens. And so then
No
Doc and I
shit.
and then we get to chatting about stuff and, and then it's like, great. Now we're excited. We've got some strong motivation and things to discuss. And that's always exciting.
Right. How is the
so-
moving going, by the way?
Well, about as good as moving can go. I want to say that this moving is not sponsored by Stranahan Diamond Peak because that's the kind of stress moving provides.
Right.
That's going all right. I say that it's just stressful because I'm one of those people that I don't believe anything until it's done. Right? Like I see
Yeah.
the move. I know we're moving. Everything's in motion. We have them. Everything's being done according to plan. However, until I'm in the new apartment and we're unpacking a box, it doesn't feel real to me. So,
Right.
but that's pretty normal. It's just what it is. But yeah, so episode 9, we're gonna try some new today, guys. Usually we have some sort of schedule or flow or topics to talk about, but a lot of our close friends and family have been like, "Hey, we want to see you guys just be you." So we're gonna wing it a little bit this time around, and
No
kinda
pressure.
no pressure. Go from there. But Doc and I have natural conversations all the time, so I'm not too worried about it. And
Right.
it's one of the things when you're friends with somebody for so long, it kind of just rolls off the tongue. But yeah, are you drinking anything? Coffee? What is that? Water?
Coffee today. I've been working a lot as you're moving and working. I've been working as well, and the ER has been really, really busy. A lot of sick people recently. For some weird reason, I don't really have a great way to explain why now is busy, but the ER has like ebbs and flows. It will get real busy and then it'll chill out and then it gets busy again. You think it's flu season or it's COVID or it's maybe the weather. People are doing more ridiculous things, but it's just been so busy that the fatigue sets in after a while, and it's like, today's a coffee kind of day.
I don't mind. So caffeine after noon. So I know a lot of people who are like, "Oh, I could never drink caffeine past noon. I'd be up all night," and
Yeah, my wife's like that.
blows my mind. Like I can drink a whole nos, like a couple hours before bed, and if I'm tired enough, I'm going right to bed. It does not matter.
Yeah.
But I know some people their heart rate gets going, and it's like, man, what I would do for caffeine to do that for me.
I'm the same way. I'm not even sure if it really helps me or if it's mentally helping me because, if I need to go to bed, I can probably just fall asleep in under 2 minutes. No sweat.
Yeah, I mean, you work your dick off. I hate to say it that way, but I mean, it's the truth. I mean, that's like one of the things that I always tell people. Doctors make a lot of money because obviously saving lives is a complicated thing. Humans are not simple creatures, but you work incredibly long and disturbing hours. Sometimes when I talk to some of my friends who work long hour jobs, I'm like, well, I know somebody who works hours that make you cringe.
Your hours aren't great either, though.
They can't. I mean, it just depends. That's the thing. It's ebb and flows too. I mean, I don't want to compare because I feel like that's rude. But I've had moments where we've been on a deadline where something had to get done, and I've been up to midnight through the whole weekend, Thursday midnight, Friday midnight, Saturday midnight, Sunday midnight, Monday midnight, and you don't make any more money. It's just what it is.
You just gotta get her done.
More stress for the same value, but it's ebb and flow. So there's times where things get really lull, we have dead moments, or projects are just rather bug fixes and small tasks, and then it's I'm just going to leave early today and walk away. So that's the part of my job I would be easier than yours in a sense, is I don't have to be so stringent on my schedule and when it gets too slow. Though, don't you guys have beds to sleep in though?
Yeah, but you know what? That used to be way in the past when ERs weren't busy in the evening. You can technically get some sleep, but anymore, I mean, there's a patient, at least even at its slowest, maybe about a patient every 45 minutes to an hour.
Because you're the only
you
doctor.
Can't really well, at night, a lot of ERs, not all of them, but a lot of ERs will go down to one doc. Depends on we have data for years saying how many people tend to come in overnight, and It's doesn't mean that's gonna happen tonight. You can
Right.
get destroyed or so I actually had a night shift one time when I worked in the ER. I thought something happened in the town. I walked in 7 o'clock. It was a 7 p.m. to 7 a.m.
So
shift. I walk
war
in.
zone.
No, no, the opposite. I walk in, there's somebody there to have an ankle sprain. They have an ankle injury. So I see
Okay.
them evaluate, x-ray, discharge. No patient came into the ER till 7 o'clock in the morning.
Wow.
So I thought something happened. I'm like, there's got to be something going on. I'm walking outside. I'm like
The
looking
zombie
outside the
apocalypse.
doors. Yeah, did something happened? Is there like a radiation leak somewhere? Is there a
Right.
gas exposure? Is there a mass casualty I don't know about? And I literally had no patient. That only happened one time in 18 years. It'll never happen again, but it happens. But you just never know how it's going to be.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I don't know, the ER is so unique to me. Like I always tell you, like if I wanted to do med, I mean, I can't. I'm too old. I mean, I guess I'm not. I know like stories of guys doing it, but they're exceptional
Yeah.
people who do exceptional things all the time, right? But if I was ever to do medicine, I think ER would be the best because I think the adrenaline rush when it happens would
Yeah.
be fun.
Well, it all depends. If it's you have bad things happening to people, there's an adrenaline rush, and when you
Right.
do good, then good
Feels
when
good.
not when you do good, but when you have a good outcome, feels good.
Right.
When you have a bad outcome, it doesn't feel good. Children are especially bad.
Yeah.
But the best thing about emergency medicine is that it's shift work.
Right.
So if you don't want to be called all night long or have to wear a
Right.
pager and or not, I guess no one has a pager anymore, but you know what I
I
mean.
mean, kind
If
of
you don't want to
though.
be paged, yeah, but it's
Right.
all on cell phone now. But if you don't want to be paged all night, you don't want to be woken up all night. You just put in your time, do your shift, you punch in, you punch out, you're done. And that's what I like about it.
I I was some of my friends, they're like, some of the, I have a lot of country friends, country boy, good old, I call them good old boys, just
Hmm.
classic traditional men. And like, how was your day, man? My buddy Zach, he'd be like, it was all right. I can tell it was a crappy day. I can just tell by the way he's standing that's been a rough day, and he's like, I don't want to complain about my day. People had it worse. And then, through conversation, I'm like, what cracks me up is my doctor friend will be playing a video game. Like, how's your day, doc? Oh, it was all right. It wasn't great. And then you'll tell me about like some dude like died from a stroke, and some other person like lost a limb to an alien infection. And I'm like, what the? That's a shit. What are you talking about? That sounds horrible to me. Like the scale of what is crappy is so broad.
It is.
But yeah, no, I think ER medicine's so interesting. I'm so fascinated by your job at so many levels compared to almost any other field of medicine. Because I know it's just like you see so much. It's like the
Yeah,
police officers of the medicine world. You're like right up front in
we
the
are.
heat of it. But
Yeah, the first line, and it's it's funny that a lot of things that people don't get about the job is emergency medicine people, not just doctors,
right,
nurse practitioners, PAs, nurses, techs, anybody. We tend to have a very kind of warped sense of humor because I think that's how we deal with the badness and being surrounded by badness all the time.
right,
So I mean,
oh,
you
absolutely,
can you try to find humor, the silver lining, whatever you need, because it's basically the 180 of Disney World. I mean, you're turning it around, and
right,
everything is like pain, misery, death, fear, and Disney doesn't have any of that. Maybe a
right.
little fear, but
A little
other
bit
than
of fear,
that,
anxiety. Yeah,
yeah, that's about it. But so a lot of times we laugh about things that people who overhear the conversation are like, God, what the
yeah.
hell's the matter with that guy?
Well, I think that's something that we've bonded on because I have exceptionally dark humor from my own
Mhm.
experiences in my past and past careers and things like that. And that's actually an interesting topic, and I think it's something I don't know. I'm kind of get your point on it because one of the struggles I've had the most in my professional career is putting away the military mindset and that dark humor and that kind of stuff because it's surprisingly a small amount of people understand it,
Yeah.
and people get offended by it, and it's like it's interesting to me because it's like you this is going to sound a little sensitive, but it's almost like you don't even have the right to be offended by the dark humor because that's a coping mechanism that I or other people who have seen things or dealt with things have utilized through our lives to maintain some sanity. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Right.
Buddy of mine, Zach, he's my best friend in real life. He's like the brother that I've never had, and he had a pretty rough upbringing and dealt with some things through life, and he's a pretty sensitive, pretty dark humor. And we were watching some I don't know. it's not live leak. It's just like some, compilation of like crazy things. And this dude got stuck in a milling machine, and it definitely, let's just say he's not repairable. And
Right.
my buddy was like, "That's the worst carnival ride you can get on, right?" And we had a good laugh about it. And to me, it's like most people would be so disturbed by what they just witnessed or viewed, and to us, it was like, "Ooh, that sucks," but haha. I don't know. It
Right.
seems dark, but in the professional world, how do you deal with it? Because I feel like I've been in trouble throughout my years in my professional world, um, using dark humor in the moment or dealing with it, or having a dark mindset. And I feel like in your world specifically, you can't do that. You have to be
Well,
pretty white
you
t-shirt.
you have to be careful around everyone. And I don't know if our there's all different examples of dark humor, but I mean the point is to try to find um I don't know if some of the stuff that we might say at work would be that dark, but occasionally you'll have somebody, so somebody comes in with like a bad like skiing accident and their foot is turned almost like 180 degrees around.
Okay.
I'll say like, "Hey, you didn't have any good weekend plans, did you?" Or something like
Yeah.
that. But it's trying to, it makes
Lighten
the
the mood.
situation, yeah, lighter for me. It makes the situation a little bit lighter for the patient sometimes. Sometimes they'll actually laugh. Um, once in a while these jokes will fall flat, and that's not
It
cool when it
happens.
does. But it
It
happens.
happens.
But the
Yeah.
point is that it's just, you don't we really don't find a lot of dark humor in like children things and stuff like that. That stuff messes
That's
up
not funny
anybody.
though. Yeah, that's not
Um,
funny.
but it's the dark humor makes it makes you be able to have some semblance of sanity,
Right.
over the years of doing this. So
Right.
everybody does it a different way. So I can't just say like one type of dark
Right.
humor, but there's a
Right.
lot of different ways that people tend to cope, and it's usually trying to find something funny about what happens, or
Right.
something um, that you can chuckle about,
To
that at
lighten it up.
least that kind of makes it more
cuts
tolerable.
the cuts the seriousness in the air. Well,
Yeah.
it's funny because I feel like people kind of like shun dark humor. Yet when you go to a comedian, some of the funniest comedians, their experiences that they talk about, the things that they joke that people find so funny, is
Hmm.
things that happen in their lives. And it's
Yeah.
funny in the moment when you got a beer in your hand and you're watching this, stand up comedian. But like he probably didn't feel great in that moment, and comedy is his way of dealing with it. You know what I mean? But I'm saying less than the patient, but more like you talking to another doctor or nurse, because I'm assuming the humor you have with the patient is a lot lighter than what if I was a doctor with you and we were sitting there joking about something, you know what I mean? Like a sport bike guy coming in with no arms, you know what I mean? It's it's kind of funny, but it's one way to run from the cops. I feel like to humor between you and I, we can't say to a patient, but you could
No, you
say,
can't.
right, but the dark humor that we would have is different. I'm asking if that's something that's ever been a problem in your professional world between you and a coworker.
No, no, not really, because mostly everybody in the emergency room kind of acts
Shares that,
similarly.
right?
There, usually everybody's been kind of in the same mental place for
Right.
majority of their career. So, I mean, certain people say some things that you look at it and you're like, whoa, like that's a little
Yeah.
much.
Yeah,
But other
I know
people,
that.
there's always some variation of that. But I mean, for the
Right.
most part, it's all coping.
This kind of just dropped in my head, and I guess, and guys, this is not even remotely a schedule, but just I was thinking about.
Hmm.
Did you ever watch that Mercy Hospital TV show? Did you
I
actually
have
do that?
to.
Oh my
I'm
god.
sorry. I know. I have to watch it. I'll try to watch it this coming week.
Yeah, I'd like to talk about it our next time.
We
I need
will.
to finish it too because I haven't watched the rest of it either. But
How many episodes?
oh god, 5 or 6 maybe. It's not much. It's like a
Okay.
mini series.
Okay.
Because like I've been in New Orleans a couple of times, and you can drive past a hospital, and like I'm surprised it's not like a ghost attraction because it's pretty sketch. It's just like this
Yeah.
abandoned, falling apart hospital. And New Orleans is not the kind of city that like people go, oh, let's just leave this poor hospital alone. I'm sure there's some stuff in there, and people do things they shouldn't do. And
Yeah.
but the TV show is really interesting. There's so many medical things I want to see because it like I don't want to give too much of it away. But for those who may not watch, it's an Apple TV show, so right off the bat, you know that it's got quality.
Right.
But there's like the beginning of the show is like the government or somebody's interrogating or questioning the doctors and the staff of the hospital for those 5 days, because it's like the 5 days during Hurricane Katrina that the hospital had to deal with their stuff, and a lot of people died. And there's a lot of like business stuff I didn't understand that I had questions about, and medical stuff I didn't understand that I had questions about. And I love to ask you medical questions all the time, but at the same time, you do it every day. So I try to limit those to emergencies
5 a
and
day.
yeah, my insurance doesn't cover questions to your friends. But yeah, you got to watch it. It's pretty unique, and I think it's a little bit. They try to add some to it for a TV show, but
Right.
from what I could tell in my research, it's pretty spot on. So,
Hmm. Yeah, I'll have to check that
but
out. I
yeah,
do. I slacked on that. That's on me.
you've been busy though.
I think that at times though, it's like it's it's interesting to watch these shows, but I think that at times if I have the choice, I might not want to relive more medicine stuff.
Right,
Not that because it's a problem, but
right,
because it's like, did this all day. I'm gonna watch Star Wars instead, or I'm gonna watch
right,
a cooking show, or I'm gonna
right.
watch I don't know the next episode of She-Hulk on Disney Plus.
Total 180 from whatever it is that you do. I get
Right,
that.
right, right. So yeah, I do have to watch it. I definitely do. I didn't watch any of ER. I didn't watch any of Scrubs. I didn't watch
But those shows are
any of
cringe.
those shows.
To
Yeah,
be honest, they're cringe.
they're they're overly dramatic.
I will say that this one's a little less on the medicine and the doctor stuff. It's more about like the craziness of
Like
Hurricane Katrina
right, right,
and
right.
literally an apocalyptic event happening at a hospital. And I think the real big thing, the pillar about that show is that hospitals are always looked at as like this safe haven. If I'm missing a leg and I'm like crawling and I don't know what to do with myself and I see a hospital, that's the first place I'm going to go, because I know
Right.
that no matter if I have my documents or not, I will be handled first, and the situation will be discovered later, right?
Hmm.
And so I think that the show is interesting because even in an apocalyptic event, people look at the hospital as like this, this place of safety and comfort, and it didn't have that because, well, there are people in limitation supplies too, like everything else.
Right.
um, it's not this magical center of curing. It's not there's not a mage in there healing people. um,
Especially
but
when
yeah, I
there's
don't know.
like 30 feet of water.
Yeah, right, exactly, yeah, and
Yeah.
the government's collapsed. um, Anyways, I won't harass you too much with medical stuff. But
One
go
quick
ahead.
thing I just wanted to bring up, and we were talking about this a little bit earlier, and it's not really related to what we were just talking about, but you know, when you're busy, because we were talking about how busy we are,
Yeah.
and this is for like the professionals out there, or the
Hmm.
aspiring professionals, or the new professionals, because that's kind of what the channel is oriented to.
Right.
Every degree of increase in status, promotion is, make no doubt about it. And I know this is probably sounds very simple, but there is a very significant increase in expectations and a very significant decrease in free time, availability, an increase in working after hours. Because we were
Yep.
talking about how
Yep.
you work all these hours, you still get paid salary.
Right.
So try to get that balance between working so much that I'm climbing the ladder. I'm climbing the ladder. But guess
Right.
what? I got no time to do anything.
You'll burn out.
Is that a good life? You don't know.
Yeah.
So you got to find that happy medium between promotion for promotion's sake
Right.
and lifestyle. And the older you get, the more that will become important, because you'll be like, I'm going to miss my kids' baseball
Hobbies.
game. I'm going to miss, a bunch of my friends are going to this
Right.
place on the weekend. I can't go. And you start like whittling away things that you might want to be able to do. And now you can't do them because you're promoted.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
promotions aren't everything. So
Right.
just make sure you balance.
I tell people, work-life balance is really important. I try to tell some of my friends who are like getting in the field now, like our buddy Dak, getting
Mhm.
got his first job, by the way. Shout out to Dak. Congratulations.
Congrats.
Got his school. I know it's tough right now in the job market, but I tell people it's like speeding at a minor amount. People love to speed a couple miles over because they think that it makes their commute quicker, but in reality, it doesn't. You're not gaining any time. You're putting yourself in line for a ticket, and a lot of people don't realize, but traffic lights are timed for the movement of traffic at a specific speed. So you're off syncing yourself from the flow, and it could cause you more time. And your career is somewhat the same way. You can speed and think you're moving your way fast up, and you're doing all these things. You're excelling. You're putting all this energy in. But if you burn out, or you run out of energy, or you have moments where your brain is done, because it'll get there, then you slow down double what you were moving initially, and you're going to be right where you were if you were on the same speed or not. Um, Plus, burnout sucks because if you're really passionate about your career and you burn out, it can be pretty depressing. So yeah, definitely work-life balance, guys. Make sure you take your time. Now, you can't always, you know, but I got some friends who work in labor fields still, the oil fields and things like that. And they're like, I never understood why white collar people make so much money. And I'm like, well, yeah, sure. I am sitting on my ass all day doing the finger tap dance in an air conditioned office. But I'll tell you what, my level of responsibility is through the roof.
Right.
What weighs on my shoulders is so high that sometimes I don't get to just leave work. I would like to, and maybe I do in some sense, but it's on my mind.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what you make more money for. You make more money in the sense of stress and responsibility. How much can a company rely on you and what you provide for them and the responsibilities you manage? And that's where a lot of income comes from for people. So keep
Very
that
real.
keep that in mind.
It's funny.
But
There's a meme. There's a meme that, and I think we may have brought this up before, but there's like a meme that says, I make a real salary now. I can buy all these games, and then mumbling under your breath that I'll never be able to play.
right?
You know?
Seriously. I mean, I have to force myself. Thankfully, my boss, we'll call him, just call him the Godfather. He's got an Italian last name. It's pretty funny. It rhymes with Bamboni, like our team speaker. Anyways, he's really good at being like, hey, you have worked so many months in a row without any time off. I think you should take some time off. Or like, hey, if you thought about, I'm seeing you a little stressed, I should. And honestly, you can't put a value on a team leader or a senior management official like that. So, but if you
Yeah,
don't have that,
absolutely.
you have to be that. Yeah, your mental health is important, or success doesn't matter. So,
You're right.
anyway, so moving, I'd like to talk about a couple different things that I've just been thinking about over the last couple of days that are just kind of burning into me. Well, first thing I got to ask you about, and I hate to bring this up, I almost feel bad bringing it up, but I want to talk about that monitor because we've been so
Oh.
busy. I haven't had a chance to really poke your mind about it, but
Oh.
I watched the clip, the short, and I watched the video, not the YouTube. You know what I'm trying to say, lack of better words.
YouTube video? Yeah.
Yeah,
And the
and
short?
yeah, and I had done some research on it when you were buying it, and I loved it. I was enamored by it. Now, I had some qualms with some of the decisions they made and its limitations, but man, as a person who loves engineering and metal and machine parts, it was a beautiful piece of electronic equipment.
It
Expensive,
was. Yes.
but when you said you were returning it, like I thought like it tried to take your wife from you or something, like it became sentient. I was like, so blown away why that, and then I watched your video and I was like, yeah, there's a lot of deal breakers there
So
for sure.
there were three big things. I did this on my ed.gamer channel, so I'll do some tech reviews from time to time. But there are three things. First of all, it's a behemoth 55-inch curved gaming monitor. It's probably the most audacious monitor there is
Need a
right
big
now.
desk.
It was a CES thing. People thought it was going to be like just a concept, but they brought it to reality. You can pre-order it. So I pre-ordered it. The problem with the monitor, three things. One is that it's hard to just imagine how big this thing is until you unbox it. No stores at the time had it set up for display. So, and plus, even when it's on display, it's not in your office, so it's kind of hard to tell.
Right. Right.
It's massive. It's massive, and I have like a 2-foot deep desk here, and the stand alone came up a foot.
Right.
The monitor is over 100, is about 95 to 110 pounds. It's somewhere in there. I
Holy
can't
cow,
remember.
man.
It's
I know
heavy.
people that weigh that much.
It's heavy. That's the first thing. The second thing is that their design choice was to only include 4 HDMI 2.1 ports. Now, that's
Why
great
4?
for if you have 4 inputs, 4
Switch
separate
between.
inputs.
Okay.
You can switch, but the other part is that you can only run one input at a time, and all the other things you can spread on the monitor screen are actually like web apps that are actually part of the operating system that's on the
Okay.
monitor that has
Right.
nothing to do with just displaying video from your computer or your Mac or whatever. But
Okay.
HDMI 2.1 is not supported by OS 10 in any way, shape, or form. So if you plug any kind of magic cable between a Mac, because I use a lot of Mac stuff too. I edit our videos in Mac. I do a
Right.
lot of base work in Mac. But if you plug anything with an HDMI plug into that input port on the monitor, all OS 10 is going to run at 60 hertz. So this is like a 165 or 166 hertz monitor, and it will only run at 60. And if you're
that's not good.
a gaming monitor usually now is like 80 and up for the most
Right.
part. I mean, you can get other ones too, but I mean, right now I'm running an OLED 48-inch monitor.
Okay.
It's beautiful.
Okay.
Everything, because it has DisplayPort, which OS 10 does use
Right.
at high refresh rates.
Right.
I get Mac and Windows running at right now this is running at 138 hertz,
Okay.
both.
Okay.
So that's fine with me. But the point is like, it's a $3,500 piece of equipment, and I'm not going to necessarily run
Right.
60% of my Mac at 60 hertz and pay $3,500 for that. So
Now,
that was number 2.
okay.
Number
Well,
3. Oh, go ahead. You want to comment on
yeah,
number 3?
I just wanted to say on the HDMI thing off the gate, and I could be wrong, guys. There may be some outliers in there, but if you have a 2080 Ti, which is still affordable card, and a lot of people are utilizing old cards now, you do not have HDMI 2.1. You have 2.0.
And that's
Um,
60.
right. So right off the bat, you've bought a $35 monitor to run on your multi-$1,000 gaming computer, even if you have a 2080 Ti, if it's updated in some sense, and you are limited on it, and that's so weird to me. And I get why, because HDMI has a data bandwidth limit, and they must be doing a lot of communication over it. But
Right.
um, only 30 series cards have it, and I can't speak for AMD because I don't know their stuff at the top of my head. I could do some research real quick, but yeah, that
Yeah, I don't
sucks.
know.
That's not okay. Anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead. So
Yeah. So it was
next on the crap
size.
list.
It was size. It was that. Oh, and then I had to at least 3 times in one day had to unplug the monitor from power and plug it back in
I know
because
that feeling.
the operating system. So basically, it's a smart TV. It's a
Right.
smart TV with the gaming aspect of being a monitor put in the forefront, which is good. So there are other things. There are web apps, so you can pull up a window of, YouTube, or just a web browser, or I don't know, some kind of scenic picture, or you want to run. There's a whole bunch of different little things you can run. You can run Office 365, like web app. You can
That's
get
cool.
Word, Excel, Outlook. It's all built into the monitor.
Good
You
for
don't even need
Office.
yeah, you don't even need a PC for that.
Right.
But the point is that you can't run a Mac and a PC on the screen at the same time. Now you can toggle input 1, input 2, input 3, input 4, but you can't put it. This monitor is so big and it turns that it's made to be able to display multiple things at once.
Right.
But of those multiple things, it's only one input into that box at a time. But occasionally, when you're moving around in the menus trying to select things, monitor just stops responding. I'm like, oh, okay, it's the remote. Well, you get 2 remotes, so both remotes don't work, and then I realize it's not
It's
the
the
remotes,
software.
it's the software
Right.
in the monitor. The only way I was able to get it back, unplug it, plug it back in, and all of a sudden I have control again. And I thought with those 3 things, it's not worth $3,500 for what I use it for. Now, if you have a
Right.
PC and you have a 30 series card, or you're going to get the new 40 series cards that are going to come out, then more
So
power
gaming.
to you. Yeah, gaming.
Right.
But productivity, I mean, gaming monitor has Office 365 built into
Right.
it. So, for what it's
Right.
worth. So I guess if you want to be productivity, you want your Outlook above your Call of Duty or whatever you're doing, you can do that. But the problem is that it was buggy, and I'm like, man,
Right.
this is expensive to not work the way I want it to work. And I'm like, yeah, it's got to go.
Well, I think some of that bugginess could have been what graphics card? You have a 3090, don't you?
I have a 3090.
And your PC? Yeah. Okay. So
Yeah,
that
this was just the OS of the monitor, even if I didn't have anything plugged in.
Oh, okay.
Like
Okay.
the little switch to inputs and
Right.
stuff, like it wouldn't
Right.
move. The little
Yeah.
like I pressed left and right on the remote, nothing would happen.
Right.
I'd have to unplug it and plug it back in to get it to pick up again.
That's super interesting to me. I'm sure they'll patch it eventually, but when you pay
Oh,
that
yeah.
kind of money, those are the things that quality assurance should have caught out the gate. Um,
Agreed.
I have a couple monitors here. My monitor on the right here is a LG, which is a very known brand. They make great monitors, but for some reason, this monitor, the software behind the firmware locks up. The monitor won't go to sleep. It won't turn off, and then it actually causes some sort of destabilization with my GPU. It took me months to diagnose that it was the software in this, and then one day I went to press the button to bring up the menu, and it wouldn't come up. And then finally, I did the same. Unplugged it, plugged it back. Menu popped up. The menu, it froze. I couldn't get the menu to go away.
Right.
And now this monitor is only a couple $100 Costco special, so I'm a little more lenient with it, and it's a utility monitor. But that was really frustrating, even at a couple $100. So $3,500, I would have been pretty upset with that one.
And let me just tell you, putting that back in the box and throwing it back in my truck, that was a big
Yeah,
hassle. You
I'm
know,
surprised you took it
things.
back.
Yeah, well, I figured
A lot of money,
I have monitors that are brighter, and it's not an OLED.
right?
So I have an OLED monitor, 138 hertz. Everything works great. It's nice and flush against the wall. It doesn't like come up to here on my face,
Right,
and it's fine. And it's like,
right,
why would I? It's just not worth. It's not worth the
right.
money.
It's not. It's
It's
not. Yeah,
not.
it's like a status symbol almost, but you could spend $35 on a lot of other things
Right.
if you want to wear, have something nice floating around. No, that sucks because I was actually considered when the yield bonus comes around and I can buy myself something frivolous again. I figured I was gonna get something new and big. As I get older, man, it's hard to program on tiny. I mean, I have a good size screen. Don't take me wrong. I have a 38 in front of me or 36. I don't remember the size of this one entirely, but it helps really with my
Yeah.
eyes. I strain less, and when you're gaming, I like having my vision encompassed. It looked like that did that. It looked like
Oh,
that.
it does.
It looked like it had beautiful colors. Even when you're filming from your camera, it looked clean and crisp, and I enjoy that. But I don't game as much as I used to, and I need my monitor to be not only gaming but productivity. And I don't want my $35 monitor to limit me in any manner. Now I have a PC, but it doesn't matter. It sucks. That
Right.
sucks.
I think there's a marketing niche for hardware that is gamer centric and productivity centric at the same time. It seems like it's either in one court or the other court. You
Yeah.
never see me like it's RGB up your ass,
Right.
or it's
Right.
MX
Right.
Master 2 with like
Yeah.
35 types of thumb scroll wheels on the side of the mouse.
Right.
So it's like there's got to be something in the middle.
There is in some sense. I mean, like I find that Logitech, if you're a person who plays games but also is a career person, Logitech is a good brand that does provide both. The RGB is not over encompassing, the mouses aren't
Right.
overbearing, but they're some of the best for gaming. And I program all day on my Logitech keyboard, and I love it. But
Mhm.
yeah, even on the hardware side though, because I mean, maybe a little different now with the 12th gen stuff, but in the old 10th gen Intel stuff, I went with the enthusiast builds because it was the HEDT. It had all the cores, and like somebody who builds huge solutions and does a lot of engineering. I was like, this is great. However, believe it or not, the HEDT processors, despite being enthusiasts, they don't perform as well as some of the your kind of consumer grade
Right.
i7s and i9s that are not the 2066 socket or whatever, because of the HEDT aspect of it and what they're designed for, because they have some workstation aspects. So right away, I thought I found something in the middle that would give me not only the productivity but the gaming, but I still end up being more on the productivity side than the gaming side, and that kind of sucked.
Yeah.
It's just what it is. I guess it's like yeah, I don't know. It just, yeah, I get that. Yeah, that's a shame. It was a beautiful monitor.
I agree. I agree that you're right about the hardware. I mean, this is like Logitech here. This is like it's like a gaming low profile, but it's. I think you're right. Logitech probably does the best job at trying to maintain some of the productivity look to it.
Right.
Like this thing isn't like screaming like, you know,
Right.
gamer.
Yeah,
And
you
I
don't look
think
like a Dodge
you'll
Neon.
yeah, yeah, with the like remember the cars that used to have like the light underneath, like
Yeah,
glowing
like
screen
Tokyo
underneath
Drift.
it. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. So we don't
Tokyo.
I don't need that anymore. I just need the stuff to work well and be functional and do everything I needed to do. But are you going to buy? What do you think of the new video cards? Speaking of 3090s, now that they've announced the 4090 and the
I don't
4080,
know, man.
any
I'm
thoughts?
I'm probably still gonna buy an Arc GPU, I think, for next one, just out of curiosity. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I mean, I don't game as much as I used to. It's funny, and I'm diverting a little bit here. It's a little funny. Is people are like, hey, as you get older, games don't mean as much. It's not they don't mean as much, because I miss the boys. I miss Tap. I miss Dak. I miss Opposition so much. I can't. Hope he comes back soon. And
Yeah,
I miss some of the old days, but games don't give me the entertainment they used to. We're in a lull of gaming, so there are some outliers there. But so no, I don't know. I'm not dying to know about it. I think that the 30 series cards are so ahead right now that until I see a video game that's like mind-blowingly beautiful and it's just solving all my problems, where I need to go out and drop. And I saw the prices for those cards. Some of them are outrageous. And
Yeah,
NVIDIA is already on my shit list, and we can talk about that in a little bit.
with EVGA. Yeah.
Just in general, they're becoming assholes. And I don't know. I don't know. It's I get it as a business. You got to sell a product, and
Mm-hmm.
computational power is always exponentially growing, and I respect that. Engineers come up with better systems all day, but I don't have a need for it, so I haven't been too dialed into it. The Arc GPU though, as weird as it sounds, I love Intel. I'm an Intel fanboy through and through. And I saw a build. You sent me a video of a guy who did a build of it,
I did.
and I loved the sleek, basic matte black look with a simple LED strip around the side. I was like, wow, that is a beautiful, simple card. Because you know what, I don't even I'm not a bumper sticker guy. Like even my motorcycle, which I'll tell you what is very much so an attention getter. But like when I first got it, I hated when people talk to me about it. It seems silly, but I did. I was like, I get it's nice, but just oogle from a distance. That's douchey, and I'm sorry, but. So why I don't want RGB. I don't want flashy and consumer and this crazy stuff. It's not for me. So the Intel card was beautiful to me, and so I do plan to get it. I know it's not as powerful as the 4000 or even the later series 3090s, but I think it's a huge technological step for Intel. I think it's cool to see another discrete graphics card man. Because think about what Intel's going to do in the next generation when they get their, this is their first card. Think about when they get past those growing pains. So
Yeah.
yeah, no, I don't know. The 4000 series stuff seemed frivolous to me. It's like if you bought a 2021, 2022 sports car and the 2023 comes out, you're like, wow, they updated the center console display. It's like, cool.
Great.
Like your car is still fast and respectable. I don't think there's any need to go out and spend another 20 grand on a vehicle. So
I got into one of a couple Facebook arguments recently, and I'm not usually one to do that. We were talking
Internet
about
sucks.
that the other day. So, and my big thing about the 40 series cards, and I need to see like YouTube videos. I need to see anybody but NVIDIA like putting it through the paces, because so obviously if you watch the event, I mean, it was about development, it was about AI, it was about gaming. It tries to hit all their main markets. But the gaming market was funny because they gave 3 examples of the performance boost or the additional abilities of the card, why it's such a good card.
Right.
The first one was the most compelling, and that was Microsoft Flight Simulator. If you know, it tends to be
for 5% of the community, right?
Right. Well, so that's the problem. That's the most compelling argument. So the first one, it's a game. It's a 2-year-old game.
Okay.
It is historically very resource intensive. We know this.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Frames on it. It's hard to get great frames on it. I get it. So it ran Microsoft Flight Simulator twice as well for whatever. I don't know if it gave FPS, but that's great, right? So okay, there's a big thing. The second demo, if you will, was they're doing RTX ray traced Portal.
Portal? On the Source engine?
The 15-year-old game. It might
that
be
engine's dated, like DirectX 9, maybe 10.
So they ray traced it, kind of like they ray traced Quake. Remember that?
Right,
so
I do.
It's basically ray traced Portal. Okay, and then the third example was a tech demo that they made themselves of these toy race cars, some kind of like rally kind of race car, and like so they're saying that 2 to 4 times improvement in performance, which to me is a very big range.
Right.
But like no information about like, hey, give me like a real world AAA engine
or Cyberpunk
game now. They did show us a little bit of Cyberpunk, and they talked about, but they didn't. I don't think they really did any actual data on. They talked about Cyberpunk, how the ray tracing and stuff like was a new groundbreaking kind of stuff back then, but there was no real data on. You remember when the was it the 20 series when they first came out? I mean, it was like the 1080s versus a 2080 was like black and it was like night and day.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And even the 20 to 30s had that. This just seemed to be like, it does ray tracing better. Like that's the way. That's kind of how that was what I took from it. And I'm not sure if that's worth them $1,700 or $1,800 for a
Yeah, it's a
4090.
lot, and in today's economy, that's a lot of money. Well, I mean, I
It
will
is.
say there's not a lot of games that are gonna beat the doors down on something so exponentially growth, like that advanced, I suppose. There's limitations in that, but like, where's my New World Town Center where like even in my 3080 Ti, I'm getting 35, 40 FPS. Can I see that improved? But I know that's probably more of a New World problem. But
Right.
there's not a lot of games out there that are going to push that down. And I was talking to Dak the other day, and maybe even you. I was talking about how, we're still these games are still developed in a way where we're not uh, taking advantage of these multi-core processors at the finest. Because so little backstory, not backstory, but little education, I suppose. In the software world, it's called concurrency. Um, not just multi-threaded, but multi-core concurrency is when you write software that can go across numerous cores of a processor, but it's extremely complex because, believe it or not, they're very out of sync. And when you're talking about high performance applications, it's very hard and very challenging to get everything to talk in such a smooth manner. And oftentimes, more than not, if it's on a business scenario, you find yourself locked up waiting for things, and it can be really troublesome. So it's taxing, and I understand why the gaming world does what they do. With that being said, that's still going to be it's going to be a bottleneck. It's going to continue to, I mean, it hasn't so much, but when the 30,000 or the 30 series cards came out, there were older i7s and stuff that were bottlenecked. i5s definitely were
Hmm.
bottlenecks to
Absolutely.
the graphics card, because your CPU still has to get everything the GPU needs to do its job. And if it can't, for whatever reason, because the game is so demanding on top of its requirements and Windows, things like that. So I don't know. I feel like NVIDIA's trying to make money. They're trying to move on, but this isn't cell phones. You know what I mean? You have so many other infrastructure and fundamental platforms that need to be risen with you, that if they're not, you're just, it looks kind of silly. And I think their gaming examples are some of that, showing you that, like, hey, this is the best we got to express the performance
Yeah.
that people can relate to. But I played Microsoft Simulator once, Flight
I've never.
Simulator, and I mean, like, if you love planes at that level, I suppose you want to fly to Colorado to Florida. I hate that flight in real life. Why would I want to do that in a video game? Um, so
I
yeah, I
just
don't know.
I like watching the videos of it when people just do the role play in it. That's pretty
The
funny.
flight,
But
the traffic control guys are
yeah,
hilarious. Yeah,
they make them like pull back into
yeah.
the tower because they don't have the right cookies on board or something like
Hmm.
that. It's pretty funny.
We loaded the wrong peanut. There's a guy that, by the way, there's maybe we can post that link. There's a YouTube channel of a dude who has a whole series where he plays traffic control for Flight Sim, and
It's pretty funny.
it's hilarious. Yeah. But so no, I don't know. I'm just not feeling it. I get
Yeah.
why and understand. And let me say that that one of an engineer's biggest issue, and I'm sure there's going to be a billion engineers that are like, I don't do this, armchair engineers, but we look at everything in a very hypothetical situation and sometimes in perfect environments. And so we develop and we give stats and statistics. We look at it from our this view in our mind, but in the real world, it's so dynamic that it's not always accurate. You ever like worked on your car and you're like, who in the fuck, excuse my language, would put an oil filter here? Why? I got to remove my whole headlight assembly to change my oil. An engineer did that because in their mind, you're going to go to the dealership and do it. They don't think about the dad who just wants to do it in his driveway. So the
Right.
same with video cards. They're building these video cards. They're looking at the numbers. They're making these claims, but there's nothing out there to really push it, and it's all from their perspective and their engineering perspective. So I don't know. Yeah, I
Mhm.
don't know, guys. If you get a 4,000 series card, good for you. I'm glad you have the expendable cash, and that's what you. Some people love new hardware, and if that's where you want to spend your money, all the power to you. You worked for that, but I'm not going to do it. I'm going to let my card die in old age and then upgrade when I need to. Absolutely need to. So
So why are
yeah.
you so mad at Nvidia right now?
Well, so I guess coming from the computer engineering world, I've known for a while that NVIDIA has been really hard on their board manufacturers, Asus, Gigabyte, MSI. A lot of people don't realize, but little history, little education, very educational podcast. Back in the day, NVIDIA would give these board companies there's a word for them, and I can't think of what it is now. Um, they would give them reference cards and engineering, specifications and diagrams. Hey, listen, this is our best layout for our card to give it the performance that we've noted. If you want to do anything else, all the power to you. And for many years, companies like Asus and MSI and Gigabyte could put more RAM or take less RAM off or do anything they could. They could do all sorts of stuff because they have their own engineers who are like, I don't know why NVIDIA did this. Let me move it this way. And all of a sudden, like, the leads
Mhm.
from so-and-so are shorter and things perform better. Well, I don't know the exact timeline, but NVIDIA at some point said, "Hey, you don't get to do that anymore. You do exactly what we tell you to do. You can only put so much RAM for this model, and it has to be this way." And they no longer have that freedom on their design. And for those who are coming into seeing the EVGA drama,
Mm.
I don't know the details behind it, but I think some of that is because in EVGA is so constricted by NVIDIA's rules and regulations and how their cards can be redistributed under their board partners' designs,
If that's
which
true,
sucks.
if that's true, it's got to be really bad because a company like EVGA. I mean, I, I,
Uh,
I've bought most of my video cards are EVGA, but they make motherboards, they make keyboards,
Yeah.
they make mice,
Power supplies. Yeah.
right? They make PSUs, but everybody knows them for their video cards.
Right.
Not too many people know. I don't know anybody who has an EVGA mouse. I don't know anybody who has an EVGA keyboard.
Right.
But the point is that if you're gonna walk away from video cards,
Yep.
it's got to be bad because that had to
Yep.
be. I don't know if it's financial. I've watched a couple of videos on it, and the CEO invited a bunch of people out to the
Right.
EVGA headquarters, and they had a
Right.
discussion about it.
Shareholders.
And it was like everybody said it was very cryptic, and even at times the CEO seemed to have some self doubt on whether or not this was the right thing to do. But apparently, like they're
Right.
out of the video card making business
Right.
totally,
Right.
and they think that NVIDIA is to blame for it. And
Well,
I agree.
I mean, again, I hate to keep saying as an engineer, but in my mindset, if I was a board partner who took these reference cards and made a conglomerate of series of variations of the reference card, that was a huge money maker for me. If I could sell a 3060i with 12 gigs of RAM rather than the 6 that it comes with or whatever, that was how I made a lot of profit because I bought X amount of 36, whatever the die is, right? For so much, and then I can turn around and sell it for so much more because I'm putting all these additional things on it. If NVIDIA is going, yo, you can't do that, my guy. We're not allowing you to do that. Think about the money loss that these companies are going through. Now, companies like Asus and Gigabyte and MSI, sure, they make a lot of money on video cards, but they also make a lot of money on, I mean, everything from defense contractor stuff to motherboards and everything in between. So, I think they're probably a little less vocal about it. But, I watched a video of a finance guy, talk about it seems like NVIDIA is trying to do the Apple thing. And Apple's a very rare instance of a company that could get away with that. And it's because their products sell themselves. And you may hate Apple, but when you open an Apple product, it's an experience, and you're getting
Yes.
something that's reliable and will last a long time. And if it doesn't, they're going to take care of it. And everything in Apple's ecosystem, and they built so many products and systems and software around that ecosystem that you don't feel lacking. NVIDIA doesn't have that. You're so reliant on the people that buy your graphics card and the systems they put their GPUs in that you don't get to be Apple. This isn't an iPhone. This isn't an Apple Watch. This is a graphics card. You're important component, but you're not the component. So yeah, I think they're riding a pipe dream right now. I think they got some crazy, almost like narcissistic business people in there really trying to milk the fruit. COVID changed some business guys a lot,
Yeah.
taking advantage of it. And I don't know. I feel for EVGA.
Do you think the reason that they did this about not allowing the boards to be altered that significantly was to try to make the changes of each subsequent card more reliable? Like,
I think so.
that way you're not closing the gaps between the 3080s and the 3090s because somebody could really just pimp out a 3090 to a certain degree where it kind of approaches
Yeah.
the performance of a 4090, but yet not at that cost. And I'm just wondering if that's the
I
money
think
and the performance per dollar is affected. And I just usually all these things basically end up having a money reason behind them.
well, it's all money. It's always a money reason. Business.
Mhm.
You've been a board of a company before. You know that money is the driving force. And as a businessman, business knows no emotion, and money's the only emotion. And I respect it in the business world. But I would say so. Yeah, I would say so. I mean, because if you think about it, if Ace is like, listen, you have a 3090, great. We're gonna put 24 gigs of RAM on this and change the whole voltage regulation system and all this board specifications, and it's gonna be top dollar. Why would you want to buy and spend another $800 on a 4000 series card when this 3090 is going to do everything you need and more for a long period of time. It actually has some future proof stuff in it.
Right.
And I think NVIDIA knows that, hey, like, we want, they know that the whole means of, oh, that card's phased, buy a new one. It's like they can't SaaS model, so trash and repeat. It's like the milk industry. You always got to buy a gallon of milk. Milk don't last forever, and I think that's they're trying to do the graphics card version of that. And I would say as a businessman, I hope it works out for you guys. But as a computer consumer, hardware consumer, I hope you trip and fall and scuff your knee, step on some
Yeah.
Legos. Yeah. So
The Legos.
yeah,
Yeah. So I did buy the new iPhone, by the way. I've
I
got the iPhone 15 Pro, or is it 14 Pro?
14.
Sorry,
14.
Sorry, 14
How do
Pro.
you like it?
Pro
I like the
Max.
camera on it.
Sorry. The camera's great. It's better low light camera.
Okay.
So that part is great. There's a couple of little issues.
Okay.
It's an always on display, and Apple, of course, tries to make that as like they just.
I thought that was the opposite. I thought they made it so like it doesn't turn on as much.
Apple's iPhones never had an always on display.
I know, but I thought like now it doesn't even, if you look at it, it doesn't even turn on unless you absolutely necessarily need. Like they were trying to minimize some of the usage from the iPhone, being like, oh hey, you kind of glance like a simp. It's like, hey, you looked at me. Let me shine my bright screen.
No. There on the website it lists the instances where it will turn off. Like a couple smart things, right? If it's in your pocket and it's like the camera's getting blackness, I guess, from your pocket.
Dark.
Yeah, it's off. If you're sleeping, it's off. If it's on a charger, I think it's off.
Okay.
So there's these different scenarios where it will always be off.
Okay.
But for the most part, it's on, but it's definitely a noticeable change in the battery life of the phone.
It hurts it.
Yeah. I mean, is it huge? No. But technically, if you look at the specs of the phone, it actually does have a couple milliamp smaller battery than the last iteration.
Well,
but yet the always on display doesn't really help that.
Well, let's talk business for a second. With all their
talk 4 nanometer, or what are you going to talk about?
Well, no, I want to talk about business and Apple. You want to talk about
Oh, yeah.
forcing a product on people. Let's talk about their MagSafe and their portable batteries. I wonder if some of that is the fact that, like, hey, we don't really care about the internal battery as much in the sake of design and feature, because now you can go down and you can buy a MagSafe rechargeable battery, just magnetize the back, and you have double your battery life now.
Maybe.
I'm just
Maybe.
saying. I mean, that's if I was a business guy. You know what I heard? One of the sales guys in my company, one of our meetings, was joking about how he strongly believes that the reason Apple got rid of headphone jacks is to limit the mobile pay system that people were using for a while that plugged into the headphone jack. So
you
that
think?
they were forced to use
Like
Apple's
Square?
payment system. Yeah, they
Yeah,
were forced to use
yeah.
Apple's system. That was one of their ways, because there's a lot of money being made in transaction fees, and Apple knew that. Anyways, I digress. I'm actually excited for the Apple with the bike and taking photos and videos. I'm been finding myself very interested in the updated camera,
Yeah.
and so forth. But here's a question for you, a little taboo. What do you think about the little, what do they call it, the digital island, right? Is that what it is, or
Dynamic island?
the dynamic island?
I think it's brilliant. Now the name, Apple has to name everything.
It's got some hate though.
I know, but think about this. So most phones, like most Google-based Android phones, they all have the cutout around the earpiece and the camera, right? And
Right.
that's been years.
Right.
So finally, Apple comes along, and Apple's never the first in everything, but they try to come up with a reason to make their
Things
iteration
better.
of it better. They weren't
Right.
the first MP3 player. They weren't the first, ultimate PC. They weren't the
Smartphone.
first smartphone, right? So they try to, and this is pretty cool. So basically, it's an OLED screen. So
Okay.
they basically have the camera and the FaceTime stuff all in one spot in the center, and then they
Okay.
have like some OLED around it, which makes the thing look like a perfect pill-shaped cutout, and it's black.
Okay.
Because you can't see anything because the OLED is so
Right.
dark.
Right.
So they actually utilize it in a method that allows you to have notifications pop up. So when you have a timer, there's the little pill-shaped thing expands, and then there's the timer icon on one side and the amount of time on the other. Or if you're listening to music, the little album art is up in the pill, and the little waveform of the playing audio is on the other side.
Okay.
If you do unlock, the little, little face icon that comes up when you
Right.
unlock something that
Right.
pops out of that. So
Okay.
basically, it's a way to try to make something that's in every phone more useful, I guess.
Almost
And
like recycling space.
yeah, and I think
Yeah.
it does a really good job. The
Okay.
things about the phone that I really like, um, one interesting thing is that this is like this is the whatever iteration of the chip that's in this phone, and I'm blanking on which version it is.
The M1
Um, no, M1 was the
is the
Mac.
studio, right?
This is like the A16 or A15 Bionic
Hey,
or whatever it
Jamie,
is.
pull that up. I got you. Hold on.
Yeah, we don't have a Jamie, but it's a 4 nanometer process chip now. But if you watch the keynote,
A16.
A16 Bionic,
Yep.
if you watch the keynote, they actually, I believe they referenced A16 versus A14.
Okay.
They skipped A15. So they
Yeah.
they referenced the improvement over a phone that they made 2 years ago.
Okay.
Weird.
Is the A15? Did they make an A15 or did they go
Yeah.
from 14
Oh,
to
yes,
16?
they did. Last year's
Okay.
was an A15. So they talked about it over the A14. So there must be they didn't really talk a whole bunch about how much more power is in this phone. So I think that, it was more impressive to go 2 years back, but that's a little trickery on their
Okay.
part.
Well, well, let me say that like Intel with their 14 nanometer, there's
Mhm.
14 nanometer plus plus, there's 14 nanometer super fin. So I wonder if the A15 was just a slightly modified version of the A14, and the A16 is an entirely different design. So they just went to the roots. I'm giving Apple
I don't
some
know.
credit here, but
Maybe.
just a shot in the dark.
I don't know. But I mean, it's still got the lightning port. I know a lot of
Okay.
people were hoping this went to USB-C, but it didn't. But there's
Oh,
also, I guess, a new
everybody has lightning
feature.
cables.
What's that?
Everybody has lightning cables. Why
I
would you?
know.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry. I
Well, I
didn't.
mean,
Sorry.
I think it's because like right now, all Macs use Thunderbolt USB-C. The new
Hmm.
iPads use it.
Right.
All the other
For everything.
all the other phones basically in the world use it, and they're like Apple's holding out with this one port on this one phone,
They pay
and
a fine for that.
they do, they do.
Yeah.
But the other thing that I think is pretty cool about the phone is also it's supposed to have and I haven't tried it out yet, but it's supposed to have a really good stabilization algorithm to like run around and record things and not have the phone shake as much. It's supposed to be
Interesting.
doing a much better job of that.
Now they're
So
trying to get gyros out of the community, the market.
yeah, and the phone also can detect when you're in a car accident. The phone can detect like it has like I guess this much more sensitive accelerometer
Huh.
gyroscope. So if the
Yeah.
car like flips while you're in it and there's a loud
Yeah.
noise and it will determine that and like a rapid deceleration, it will tell that you're in a car accident and it'll say like unless you silence this in 10 seconds, like the phone's going to call 911 for you.
I have a funny story about that actually.
What's that?
So I used to have an Apple Watch. I used to wear an Apple Watch all the time. And for a lot of those who may not know, and you probably some do know, I did jujitsu very religiously for many years. And I wanted to wear my Apple Watch one time because I wanted to measure my heart rate during a sparring event. And I wrapped it in like tape, like athletic tape, to prevent it from getting dinked or bothered or pushed or buttoned. Well, at some point during a clinch, it got pressed, and this is the perfect combination that it hit the emergency option, and it called
Ooh.
911. And in the middle of a sparring event, they're like, "This is so and so, 911. What's your emergency?" And I'm like, "I am wearing my watch, doing mixed martial arts. I am so sorry. My watch called you. It was unintentional." They're like, "No problem. Have a good day." They hung up. And I'm like, "The cops are going to be here. They're going to come here." But the city we're in is Aurora. So for you guys who are in Colorado, you're like, "Oh, okay. No wonder they didn't show up." But but yeah. But what a cool feature though. You know what I
It
mean?
is.
So I
And
think that's nifty.
the other thing to just make mention of this is satellite connectivity. This is a new feature as well. Um,
Like SpaceX.
uh, it's for if you're in an area where there is no cell phone towers, you're out in the middle of
Oh,
the
that's
desert
cool.
and you get lost,
That's
you
cool.
can actually send a message. I don't think you can make calls, but you can send messages.
Well,
And the app just shows you like, oh, the satellite is this direction, point here, point there.
right.
And if you point it, you can get out messages to get help, and it transfers your GPS coordinates.
Well, a lot of emergency like a hiker, like the hiker SOS devices and stuff, they actually provide you a little bit of service to your cell phone that then
Mhm.
allows you to do text messages.
Yeah.
So that's not an uncommon feature. That's just that's actually really really powerful. I think that's going to be a huge selling point, especially places like Colorado where you can get lost in the hills real quick.
Yeah. I keep seeing stories in Colorado. People like go out in the mountains and they die and they're not found, and then finally somebody finds them at the
Well,
bottom of a pile of rocks, like 2 months
people
later.
are people are I don't want to digress too much, but we have a lot of people move here for the environment, the outdoorsy stuff. But the
Hmm.
thing about living in Colorado is that with the nature, I've been here my whole life, so like it's not so scary to me. But I have been very deep in the hills where like if it hadn't been because I lived there for so long and the general idea of where I'm at is not so outlandish, I could totally understand where getting lost is so easy, especially when you're in the hills. People don't realize that like the trees and the land and stuff, it's so easy to get lost and turn around. And a lot of people don't realize, but you actually walk slightly more on your dominant foot than your non-dominant foot, so you walk in a circle.
Right.
Um, and humans can get lost in cornfields very easily because you'll just walk in a circle without even realizing you're walking in a circle. So yeah, that's a powerful feature because people do get lost, and all the time we got people who are like, and then when you get lost, you have panic, and then before you know it, you're screwing yourself even more through panic, and then that's it, you're done. In Colorado, the wilderness will kill you. No hands. There's no pass, especially in the winter. And if you're deep enough, bears and moose and stuff, they'll have their way. So
Do you
yeah,
see moose often?
sometimes they're more like they're actually more in the hills. What's really funny is a lot of people don't realize, but moose are technically more dangerous than your black bear. A bull moose, without a doubt, will charge you, and they may not eat you like a black bear, but they're so big. Moose are dauntingly large. You see them on YouTube videos, see them on TV. You're like, well, it's a moose, but you see them in real life, they tower over you.
They're like a
Um,
car,
they
a small
yes,
car.
they'll yeah, and they will mess you up. They want to kill you. They deem you as a threat, and especially bull moose in the heat of the mating season, they want to take you down. And actually, it's funny because a couple years back there was a bull moose that had wandered into a suburban community, and it was like damaging people's cars and charging people. And so they send the park rangers out because the park rangers can deal with that. They have shotgun rounds. They shoot in the sky and they make this loud banging sound, and that
Right.
scares bears away and stuff. But these moose were fighting. They were fighting for territory, and the bang rounds were not doing it. And the park ranger trying to scare them off. Finally, the moose charged the park ranger, and so he hit behind his car and eventually shot it square head, like square, almost point blank square in the head with a slug shotgun round on live TV because they had to get rid of it. And but a lot of people don't realize that. Well, they take it to a butcher and give it to like the families in need and stuff like that because it's a lot of meat. But what else do you do? Yeah, that thing will. If that child gets hit by a moose, you're done. It'll trample you and it's over with. So
Right.
but yeah, that's a cool feature. I think the SOS stuff would be pretty nifty, especially like for me who does riding in the mountains on my motorcycle. If I biff it hard at speed, my legs are broken. I have no cell phone service. I could easily die, internally bleeding or something from an impact.
Absolutely.
Um,
A lot of
especially
a lot of the keynote was based on safety.
yeah,
Even the Apple Watch, new Apple Watches, have that too. I mean, they're even, I guess, a little more sensitive because they actually have a way of determining like changes in pressure, so it can tell
right.
like when an airbag goes
Oh,
off. So I
wow.
mean that's a interesting feature too. But I mean, there wasn't a tremendous amount more with the watch. There is a new watch. I don't know if you saw
Okay,
that. There's
I didn't see
there's
that.
there's a watch that's much more, for the people who buy like those big Garmin watches, diving computer kind of watch. There's another
All the outdoorsy features. I get you.
yeah, it's like waypoints while you're walking,
Ah, okay.
diving stuff.
That's
Buttons
safety
are
in
easier to
itself.
access, better operation in cold, bigger speakers so it's louder. It has a
Okay.
siren in it if you get in trouble. There's
Wow.
a
Human alarm.
Yeah, but it's gargantuan, and it's definitely not. It
Right.
fits only a certain type of demographic.
Well, I wouldn't. One of the things I would like to see is the GPS. Hello, Luna's coming to come join the episode, guys.
Yes.
Sorry, Miss Luna. It's about the time where she demands love from me. This cat does not want to be pet during the day, but at this time at night, every night. Um, well, like as a rider, I had an incident not too long ago. We were gonna go ride up in the hills on a Friday, and every Tuesday I have nothing going on, so I was like, well, I'm gonna ride up to our normal route and check out our route because we had some serious like people died in some flooding that happened up in the route that we normally go. And for you guys who don't ride, a little bit of sand on the road that's it. You're done. You're down, and it could easily. And I wear gear and stuff, but it doesn't matter. It could that could be it. And so I like to go up there fairly slow and just see what it's like. That way, I can tell the guys, hey, listen, Stowe Prairie. Risk Canyon, they're covered in sand. I don't know if it's a wise idea that we go up there, especially some of our guys who are not nearly as skilled, because we want to go and have a good time, not like cart somebody home or have a bike. We've had a bike drive off the side before, and it's just stressful. So,
Oh,
um,
jeez.
so I went up there, and my phone died. My phone died coming down, and a lot of people know in the hills here you get no phone service, and I share my location with people, and when you're in the mountains, if you don't have phone service, that location doesn't matter. It doesn't update. It needs that phone signal, and I get down to like some phone calls because I've been gone for hours without phone and any phone, and it wasn't until I could get down, plug in my spare battery, and the MagSafe batteries, as cool as they are, they do not charge your phone quickly. It's like a 30-minute time before it'll start your phone.
Right.
And so I had all these missed calls where people were like, it's 10 o'clock. Where we knew you went in the hills and you're not back yet. Like, people are panicking. I got people driving around. And I would kill for something that just would allow me to have more updated features when the phone is in a non-service area. So the SOS thing's cool, but kind of get some GPS life out in the hills. I know the GPS can work in the hill area at least better than phone service.
Yeah.
I'd like to see that. But the SOS stuff's a great step because I've been lost before, and it would have been nice to know that that's some sort of backup.
Right. You should get one.
Well, I did pre-order the AirPod Pros, the
Oh, you
second
did?
generation.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
You have to tell me how they are.
I do. I love, honestly, Apple's headsets, the Pro Max, wonderful headset, guys. Expensive, 100%. You're gonna pay for it, but man, what a beautiful and amazing sounding headset that is. I wish I had more integration with PC.
You talking about these guys?
Is that what you're wearing? The AirPod Pro Max?
Yeah, these are the Apple ones.
The microphone in them doesn't integrate well with the computer. If you turn disable, yeah. If it did, it'd be a perfect headset. I'd be wearing one right now.
Maybe the next iteration. You never know.
Yeah, well, my headset's breaking, so I might be wearing those next time around. But for riding, believe it or not, I've tried so many different headsets. The AirPod Pros are the ones that stay in my ear the most over every headset I've ever used. They're the ones that hang on in the most in the riding situation, and so they're the second generation. I thought would be nice. Plus, the noise cancellation can be really helpful with the loud noises. So
it's supposed to be better too. The noise cancellation.
I will say my motorcycle is loud enough that it overloads it, and it can cause the sound in the headset to get kind of crackly, which I've never experienced before. So that's kind of unique. So maybe the second generation will tackle that.
Yeah, let me know how that goes. Because if it's great, maybe I'll pick one up. But I mean, I don't know if it has enough to really warrant the cost for me.
Right.
But,
they're not that expensive.
Well, they're $250, aren't they?
Yeah, something like that. It's not too much though, compared to like your $3,500. Should have done your taxes monitor.
Yeah. Yeah, that was stupid.
I did want to talk about something else I was thinking about today. So I work in the security industry, software-wise. You know that.
Mm-hmm.
The GTA 6 stuff, and even before that, the Uber stuff. Actually, it was a really funny thing, and we had this huge chain email at my company because the Uber engineers were talking to the hacker. They're like, "Hey, listen, and while you're in there, since you're so good at this, can you fix some of our like P0, which P0 is like serious bugs that we're trying to fix? Can you fix some of those? Because clearly you're able to get through our stuff better than we can. So you do something useful." Leave it to engineers to mock the hacker in a chat. But the same guy hacked GTA, right? I think that's what happened, and he leaked the source.
I didn't hear about the Uber part of that, but I heard about. I watched the videos on the source.
I think my understanding is that he got the GTA stuff by hacking Slack. That was how he made his rank. It was the same kind of pathway. Now, mind you guys, I looked at some headlines. I read some articles quickly at work, so I could be wrong, but I believe it is the same guy. And well, Uber may not have been able to track him down, but Rockstar, they did. They found that guy real quick.
I guess they have stock. I didn't even realize there was stock in Rockstar. Is that true?
I don't know. I've never invested in a video game company before.
Jamie.
Yeah, right. Let me look it up real quick.
I think I thought they lost some financial.
Take-Two Interactive.
Yeah. Their stock went down when that got found out. I mean, and Rockstar admitted that's GTA 6 and we're just going to continue working on it. But I mean, there was video of basically just gun mechanics, how to walk, how to crouch, but then there's like parts of it that are actually like full-fledged like city.
It looked like Vice City.
It did.
Maybe, yeah. So, I don't know. That guy's going to prison. 16-year-old kid out of UK. You're
he's
gonna learn
only
the hard
16?
way. Yeah, 16-year-old boy out of UK. Yeah. First of all, I'm cool that you figured all these crazy exploits and made your way in, but come on, man, you couldn't cover your tracks so much they found out who you were. That's rookie mistake number one. Come on, you can't hack the Gibson from like your bedroom, Um,
Yeah.
yeah, so I'm excited for GTA's. I love Vice City is my favorite GTA, so hopefully this one, but it's gonna be far before it releases because I saw the videos. I'm like, wow, they are in the heat of development, and
Yeah.
we got a long way before that's gonna come out. So
That's very I mean, it's very like buggy looking and stuff, but I guess
those are
that's
all dev
development.
tools.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're all dev. That's all dev tool stuff. What do we
Oh,
have games coming? Don't we have some games coming out soon that you and I are gonna play?
um, well, I just pre-ordered Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. No, it's supposed to
Call of
be
Duty, Doc. It died years
Soviet
ago.
bought it. Soviets buying it, so I'm
That's no
surprised.
offense, Soviet, but that's not the greatest excuse to
Yeah.
buying Call of Duty.
Well,
Love you,
Soviet?
Soviet.
No, no, but I heard there's like a Tarkov kind of mode to it.
Now you have my interest. Like
So I
that,
don't
I
know.
flipped
I
the
don't
table.
that, and I said, you know what? I'm just looking for something to play. I'll play it. Skull and Bones I
What
pre-ordered as
what's it
well.
called? Modern
Uh,
Warfare 2?
Modern Warfare 2. There's some sort of Tarkov mode to it,
Okay, like a
and
raid
that only
mode.
makes sense that they would do something like that because they would capitalize on.
Tarkov's the only one that has it right now. Why not? You know,
Right.
I'll have to read about this afterwards, but
I don't
I'm
know if I
interested.
have to read about it too because Soviet just told me last
It
night,
came right
and
up.
and I thought that tonight was the open beta for people who pre-ordered it for the PC. But
Call of Duty.
no, it's
Oh, okay.
924, not
Well,
922.
maybe I'll pre-order it.
I thought I would play it later, but I can't. It's not ready yet.
Well, it gives me time to maybe look into it and see if I want to get it because we could play together, make a video
Yeah,
off of it.
absolutely.
Yeah.
We got to
Wait,
play
Skulls
more
and Bones.
Skull and Bones. I pre-ordered, and that's really all I have pre-ordered right now.
Did you hear about the League of Legends MMO that's coming out?
No.
I think Glenn or Dak posted it, and at first I was like, I hate League of Legends. I've never been into that game. Then I
Me
watched
neither.
the video on the MMO, and I was like, wow, that is very exciting. And somebody who's a diehard MMO lover, I'm actually very interested in that. I like
Is
pirates, but like fantasy sci-fi stuff is way more up my alley.
is there? Yeah. So what's the claim to fame? Like, what really caught your eye? Like, what was the biggest thing?
Just size and the things that they're claiming it'll have in it, features and storyline and the graphics, and it just has like a strong MMO feel to it. And nobody said WoW Killer yet, other than like fanboys, obviously, which
Well,
is usually a good sign to me. The minute a company doesn't say WoW Killer, then I'm excited because
yeah.
every time a company said WoW Killer, it didn't kill anything other than its sales.
Right.
But yeah, no, it looked beautiful. It had a great storyline, it had really cool features, and I love big open worlds. That's what it had. So, and a lot of options for races and classes. So,
Oh, I want to
um,
look at this now.
I'll link it to you when we're done.
Yeah.
Yeah,
After we're done
I'll
here, I
send
want
it
to
to you.
look at it.
Yeah, I'm interested in that. But that's it. You saw me playing 0 Hour of the Day, which is like that game made me an alcoholic for a short period of time. That just shows you how bad the video game market is. Um, it sucks right now. So yeah, I'm excited for
Yeah.
Skulls and Bones. I'm actually excited for that. I will look into Call of Duty. I'd be interested in playing that. Because I don't play any Tarkov anymore. That game burnt out. I'm in that. For all you Tarkov guys, you know, you go through the stints where like you go hard on a wipe, then you don't do any wipes, and then you go hard on a wipe again. I'm in that lull right now, so
Right. Right.
got nothing going on. But
Yeah. Me too. Me too.
um,
I'm just looking for something to like just scratch that itch.
yeah,
Hopefully
yeah.
soon. So you
The market sucks.
are reworking our website, and our website
I
has
am.
been down. If anybody has seen that or
Yep.
not been able to see it, I guess it's because Damo's moving, so he
Yep.
was hosting our site for a bit on
Yep.
one of his own servers, but we're gonna
Yep.
actually move it to a third party, and
Mhm.
it's up now, but in
Yep.
the old version. But he was showing me some pretty cool stuff that he was working on, and I love the changes. So
Yeah.
stay tuned for that.
Yeah. So yeah, I hosted to start off my own server for a while, just because we were getting off the ground, and I didn't think we'd have like this massive traffic. But with the move coming and some of the intricacies of hosting in your home, and even on a home lab, you have servers, whatever. We wanted to move it over, and we had a little bit of some shifting pain, which is pretty normal when you uplift a website. That's not like a click and move style.
Right.
But when I was moving it, I had spent so much time looking at it and reviewing it, and I was like, God, the first one I wouldn't say I threw together. I definitely spent a good couple of weeks on it, designing it and making it work. But I hadn't touched a website in a long time. It's been the first time I'd done some HTML and CSS in a hot minute. So I knocked some dust off, but it knocked the dust off, and it's still fresh in my mind. So when I was doing all that, I was like, I would like to come back and revisit this. So I did. I came back and revisited, and started a new design. So I would say probably in a couple of days. Sorry, guys.
We'll
Wow,
live
I don't know
this
where
out.
that came from. Yeah, there'll be a little 1 minute later, I have another one
Right.
coming. What is happening right now? What causes? That's what you could talk about. What causes? Why do you sneeze so much in a row? Is it just like one thing is hitting something in there that needs to get
I think
managed?
the sneeze actually kind of aggravates it a little bit at times, and it's like it's just you have this tickle, and then the sneeze is supposed to try to get rid of that, but it actually ends up creating a worse sensation, and then it just keeps going and going and going. I've sneezed so much in the past where I've literally had no recourse but to just go to sleep. I'm like,
That sounds
I'm
awful.
not gonna win this. I need to take like 2 Benadryl and just go to bed, and hopefully when I wake up, it's gone.
God, I can't imagine being Johnny Depp in his Hoover level skills. Not to
Right.
say too much because we're on YouTube, but man, I can
Yeah.
imagine what that does to your sinuses at that quantity all the time. Sheesh.
It puts a hole. It actually creates what they call a, a, a septal defect. The septum of your nose is the part in the middle between each
Right,
nostril. You
right.
actually get a hole. It will actually, because it clamps down the blood vessels, that an area of the septum up in your nose
Dies.
dies, and there's actually a connection from one side of your nose to the other in a spot where there shouldn't be.
Um, it's funny you say because
I've seen
I
that.
don't I don't want to talk too much about drugs on our very family friendly podcast, but in the business world, believe it or not, a lot of executives utilize substances of all kinds, including alcohol. But one of the guys, one of the sales guys for a company I won't manage, not the one I work for, a different one, did a lot of it. That was like his claim to success. He says the Navage. He always used the Navage because it would rinse his nose out real aggressively. But I don't think that helps with the blood vessel constriction that comes with the substance being in your body rather than. But I'm assuming you have to do a grotesque amount for that to actually happen. That sounds
Yeah, it
like,
takes some
oh,
time.
yeah. That's
It
crazy
does.
though. Good to know, right? For all you guys out there who like to do the Johnny Depp party powder, um,
Yeah, be
your
careful
nose
of
could
that.
rot away. Yeah, be careful with all substances too, guys. Come on, let's not drink and walk into traffic.
Right.
Um, I don't really have anything else. I mean, I know this is a
No.
little crazy, guys, a little over the board. I know we're a little long, but believe it or not, the longer podcast I think actually may be a reality. I know we went back and forth about that, but I've been binging Joe Rogan, and for those who like dark comedy, you should check out Theo Vaughn. I might go see him in October and December in Denver. But they're pretty long. They're pretty long
Yeah, they
podcasts. I,
are.
I think
Yeah,
we're
but
usually on the shorter side.
you get like kind of just drawn into it, and you just it's kind of like watching a TV show. You just kind of forget, and
But you know what? They're all natural. They're all free flowing podcasts. None of them really
they
have
are.
any sort of structure. So I think I
They
don't know.
are.
How do you feel about this? How do you feel about just being
It's good.
free?
It's good. We just will have a couple of topics. We just want to make sure that if something's important, we just hit on it. But for
Yeah,
the most
that's
part,
true.
free flowing is fine with me. It's
Right,
easier too because it just comes easier, and it's more of a conversation.
right,
You know.
right.
All right, guys. Well,
Um,
thanks for watching.
yeah,
Episode 9 is in the books. We'll have to do something interesting for episode 10. I don't know if we'll do it like live,
we
or
should
we
do we
can
should do a live one.
have a couple people on it, or we should do
I
something
would
different.
like to have some people. That'd be fun. Yeah, let's figure something on that. It'll be a surprise for you guys. That's for sure. We don't know yet, but I think live is a good start, and maybe we should invite some of the faces of the community. Wouldn't be a bad idea.
Yeah.
Um, um, I will continue the SWOTOR stuff on the channel and try to get back at that. I know I did Engine Simulator. I know that's probably really boring. I went back and watched that video. And I was like, wow, that was. I thought I was at a MIT class. It was not very exciting, but may continue that one. I don't know, guys. I'm trying to put content up there for you guys. Let me know if there's something you like, something you don't. Um, I just want to put something up there that's fun to watch and kind of lax in the middle. But I don't know. I'm just kind of winging it. So let me know if you guys.
It's all good. I usually end up I'm in bed because our time differences are different, and you're like live streaming it, and I'll just like tune in and watch it.
Yeah, it can be fun, but time days are different. But I'm can be tired in those. And Dak actually made a comment about my straight playthrough. He's like, "You seemed real tired." I was like, "I was," but the game was
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah. Well,
But
that's what
yeah,
matters.
but
All
anyways,
right.
thank you guys for listening in, and till next time.
All right, guys. Have a good one, and make sure you check out the website, the redo, and check us out on social media, and we
Yep,
will talk to you soon.
yep. Thanks, guys. Have a
All
good
right.
night.
Bye bye.